I've been thinking lately about how life changes, and I used to think it was gradual. Now I'm starting to think more that it changes in terms of moments. Moments in time make up the transitions. And many of the times we don't even realize the transition happened, that moment occurred until we're standing on the other side of it. I'm sure many of you have your own transition moments to speak of, and maybe can relate to some of mine. So today I'm going to present the 4 that have really caught my attention as I look back at my life as moments in time that defined transitions from one phase of life to another. The first one was the transition from adolescence to young adulthood. And I provided a story about that in another video where I was at the arcade, 18, 19 years old, 19, 20, I don't know, somewhere in there with my buddies doing typical arcade stuff. And normally, even though I was just a little out of high school, a little older, would still catch the attention of a couple girls here and there. You'd see them looking at you or whatever. And this one day, as I was walking out with my friend, we played video games, did our thing, we're leaving. And I turned to him and I said, "Dude, we must be getting old." No girls even noticed. And what it was telling me was that I am now getting older. It was recognition that I had now transitioned from their teenage adolescent world into the young adult world where, so to speak, I didn't have relevance to them any longer. And that's okay, but it was just an example. And so to me, that was a main transition time. It was probably the first time in my whole life I started to feel older. Not necessarily bad about it, just older. And the second was young adult to more traditional adult, mature adult, whatever we might want to call it, where I was now engaged in a career. I was married. I had just bought the house, and that was the clincher. That's that moment. Didn't realize it in the moment, signed the documents, bought the house, but there was this transition of pressure now, because now I had this thing that was an investment that I had to maintain, that I had to make sure and not lose. So all of a sudden my job, my income, so many other things became so much more relevant because this transition into mature adulthood now had the potential for real consequences. As you know, when you're young and free, if you can't pay your rent, you move to another place, you move in with a friend, you do something, you buy a house, and all of a sudden those options are off the table. Maintaining that house is the absolute priority. And so there was definitely a shift. I felt older once again with these mature adult pressures that I really had not much noticed before. And the third moment of transition that I noticed was kind of in middle age, not because I was older and the gray hairs were starting or anything like that, was that I had been in a field and I now had sort of developed a pretty sizable library of knowledge on how things worked in that profession, specifically adolescent day treatment. I'll spare you the details. It's a form of treatment for kids in place of regular school. But ultimately, I had done it for so long that I kind of knew the ins and outs. I knew the rules, the regulations, the laws, special ed laws, all the things one has to know to function comfortably in that system. And I knew those now. And as new staff would come in, I noticed myself being able to share that knowledge. Things that were new, that they were hearing for the first time, were just knowledge that I had. And so that was another one of those transitions where I realized I had all this information. I had all this knowledge to share with those who were now who I had been just a few years before, fresh out of school, maybe first job out of grad school, and now I'm educating and training them the way I had been once upon a time trained and educated. So that was another eye-opening moment as my life progressed and the changes occurred. So that was a really interesting time. And the last one is the one I'm facing now, this transition from productive midlife adult into less productive retiree. And as we know, I'm not fully retired. I'm semi-retired, work maybe 10 to 15 hours a week. But at the same time, that is another one of those moments when I realized, hey, I probably don't need to work full time anymore between, potential investments and other things and Social Security. I got to the age where Social Security has said, yes, you can start taking your benefit back that you've paid into all these years. For your whole life, it was something that was out there. And then when I realized that I now was of the age eligible to grab that piece of the pie, that was another one of those moments of huge transition, signifying recognition of yet another phase of life that was upon me. So it's really been these 4 moments that have really stuck out and defined the different stages of life for me. Could I dig around and find more? Probably. I suspect you have your own, and maybe have reflected on them and maybe haven't. And maybe this video is a bit of a prompt to kind of look back and see at what points do you feel a change really ended up happening for you. Let's discuss it in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.